Hi, Armoured Pants here, and I have another tank for you in the German line. This is the Tier 7 medium, the Panther, and as always we have a complete guide. Now the Panther is one of the most iconic tanks of World War II, along with the Tiger, T-34 and the Sherman, perhaps the most iconic of all World War II tanks. We see some image of it here. Here's one from the Eastern Front in winter camo. And it's just really one of those tanks which is of historic significance, and one of those tanks which is great for us to be able to look at and to play in Blitz. And I think, it's unlike many of the other tanks in Blitz, this is one of the iconic tanks from history. And for those of us who have an interest in history and in tanks, it really is a fantastic tank for us to play, and therefore a little bit special. Let's have a look at the tech spec in blitzhanger.com. And that is the tech spec, of course, of this tank in Blitz, not in real life. To me, this is a great medium tank, and I think it's unfairly criticized. It's fast, mobile, it has frontal armor, so very much a typical German medium tank. I have had great success in this tank and I love playing it. But I do know that it's not everybody's favorite, and that it is actually criticized a lot, but as I said, I think unfairly. There's an option of an 88mm and a 75mm gun. I would go with the 75mm gun because it's great, it's accurate, reliable, has great pen. The reload on it is just fantastic at 3.7 seconds, so DPM is awesome. It's a DPM monster. You can see there almost 2.6k of DPM on your AP rounds, and with that almost 200mm of pen on the AP, you will go through most things. The tank is deceptively quick, it handles beautifully, and you're going to see that in the game. It's 55 kilometers per hour forward, 28 in reverse, so it's really nimble and agile, and just does what a medium tank should do. Gets around the map, can bounce some shots with that frontal armor, has a great gun, reliable, pens from distance, good muzzle velocity. Overall, just a very good tank. Let's have a look here. We'll see, as I said, it has frontal armor, it will bounce some shots, and you'll actually see that in the game. It has really good relative armor numbers on the side, both on the side of the hull and on the turret, so you will bounce some shots there, particularly if you're moving quickly, creating that sort of mobile side scraping angles, you will get some bounces. If you're flat on, of course, on the side or in the back, you will get penned, but then you expect that from all medium tanks. But the relative armor, as you see there, nice angles on it, create some nice relative armor numbers. So you can't even side scrape in this tank if you're not up against a really, really big gun. But generally, as a medium tank, that's not your tactic. It's to move around, it's to be agile, be quick, and to be the CPU, as we said, of your team, processing information, assessing it, moving around the map, and being tactically aware, being the tactical spear point of your team, rather than the actual spear point, which is a heavy tank's role, but you're the tactical spear point, moving around the map, getting into those strategic positions. And we discussed that in detail on the medium tank guide we have on channel, and if you haven't watched that, please do so. Here you can see the tracks though are exposed, so therefore I run 2 repair kits on this because I do not want to get stuck out in the open in this. Not a good idea in any tank, but particularly not in a medium or light tank when you have light armor on the sides and back. You can see front on, you will get some bounces, particularly if you're top tier. In terms of tactics, it says peekaboom, 1v1 brawl, circle of death. You will see circle of death in the game I'm about to show you. We'll see 1v1 brawl in the game I'm about to show you, and you'll see a bit of peekaboom too. So it says also long range sniping, because that gun is so good and so accurate, especially when you use that long barrel 75mm gun with that enhanced muzzle velocity from the Supercharge. You'll be able to do long range sniping too, and the gun, like all German guns, is reliable and accurate and won't let you down. 6 degrees of gun depression is not great, but it does have 17 degrees of elevation, which is good for shooting up onto targets, particularly if they're up on hills above you. And the tank though itself, really good example of a medium tank. Now let's have a look here at the technical setup. I've just bought this tank, so let's use the XP to upgrade it as quickly as possible. I'm going to use free XP, get to the top gun. I'm actually going to choose the 75mm gun, upgrade the tracks, convert some of the XP using some gold, and we are up and running and ready to go. and I am going to choose the camo here. I'm going to use some different camo for summer, winter and desert to make sure I have the camo numbers up as much as possible. This is a tank I'm going to play quite a bit because I do enjoy playing the Panther, so I choose a bit of rare camo because I want the tank to look good, because I'm going to play it as much as possible. And also the other thing is that as we discussed before, that rare camo can be used on all map types. So we are going to go for the winter. I'm going to use the rare camo for the winter too because I really like it. And we are going to choose provisions. And now we're on to ammunition. I'm going to go for most loadout on the AP because, as I said, that 75mm gun, the AP is really good. Some APCR in case I'm up tiered, and some HE in case I run into a Borsig or anything with no armor. As always, when I set up my tanks, I am going to use Supercharge and Refined Gun to get the muzzle velocity up to maximum amount and to reduce the penetration distance over loss. And I'm going to use Enhanced Armour too because this tank does have some good frontal armour and I want to maximise the chances of bounces. I'm going to go to spot C, see if I can scout as well. I'm going to use the speed of the tank to get up into position as quickly as possible on C, check the layout, and I know I may bump into the AMX, I may bump into the T3485, both of which I'm pretty okay with. There's also another Panther on the team too, so I'm quite happy to bump into any of those. So I'm going to blast up towards C. You can see here I've just got my 3.8 second reload, so it's really fast. This is a great tank for brawling, and you're going to see a brawl coming up here at C with the other Panther, and it just shows when you're against a peer whether a tank can hold its own or not, and you'll see that this tank really does hold its own. It does really well. Now nothing is spotted, so I just push on up, and you'll see what I mean here about the frontal armor. I get one bounce here off the T3585. I know it's a lower tier, but nonetheless get a nice bounce off him, and my round goes straight through him, plus he takes a round from my ally as well. Now I'm into C and I can spot up and I can capture, and you can see here now we have Panther pushing onto me, and you can see that he has the 88mm gun, so he has a much slower reload than me, plus the gun is not as reliable. I fluff one shot, but he misses more than one. Again, another bounce from him, and you can see my fast reload, particularly with the adrenaline dropped. I just clear him easily and remove the Panther, my compatriot, from the game. And again, just looking at the versatility and also why I believe using the 75mm gun is much more advantageous than using the 88mm. The play style of the Panther, I believe, suits the 75mm gun better than using the larger 88mm gun. If you're in for a brawl, if you are in for this kind of face-to-face, close-up and personal type of battle, the rate of fire on the 75mm gun, its pen and its reliability is much better. You can see there that I'm penning him, he's missing me, because the 88mm gun is less reliable on the Panther than it is, let's say, on the Tiger 1. Its muzzle velocity, its accuracy, etc. is not as good as it is when it's on the Tiger. And you can see there in a straight up fight against me, all other things being equal, I managed to clear him. Of course I took a couple of hits, but I got more bounces, I got more pens, and really I was just able to clear him. And now I've cleared out one of the most dangerous tanks for me, my compatriot, my peer, the other Panther, and I'm able to capture C, and then I'm able to continue to do some damage onto the enemy. And this Tiger comes out here, he's moving across, he's trying to push up the right hand flank. He hasn't paid any attention to me whatsoever, and I'm able to put 3 rounds into him as he drives by, and I'm actually able to now push up, help my companions. And again, you see the reload and the accuracy of this gun, clear him off too. So we're less than 2 minutes into the game. I've already cleared off 2 of their tier 7 tanks, and we are in quite a strong position. Now we also have captured C, so we're ahead on points too in this supremacy game. So you can see this tank, you know, it's agile, fast, it getting around the map. You know, I'm able to keep pace almost with the T71, which is one of the fastest tanks in the game. Certainly one of the fastest tanks in its tier. And you know, just moving around, the agility, this tank is really map friendly. Again, you see the agility of the gun here, shot on the run, clear him, and now moving and then go back up the hill here. Again, you can see the tank, no problem for it to get up the hill. It's so agile, it's map friendly, terrain friendly. Isn't really any map that doesn't suit it. We're here now against the 88 and the KV2, tough competitors, but you know, for this tank, I mean, really, its rate of fire, its armor, it's just a really strong competitor against these guys. Now we're going to see a bit of we saw a brawl earlier, now we're going to see a bit of a sort of mini circle of death here in the KV. The KV2, you know, they could do a lot of damage to me, but really with its slow traverse, its slow speed, it's just not able to compete with this tank, as most heavy tanks are not. Even when you come up against an IS or a tank like that, they're just not going to be able to compete with you. Even if you come up against an IS-3 or an IS-6, if you can get in around them, the agility of the tank, its gun, especially if you're firing into the sides and back, will enable you to compete and to do a lot of damage on those guys. So, and this is why I say I think that this tank is very often underrated. It gets a lot of unfair criticism. I think maybe like the Tiger 1, people are expecting it to play like its real world counterpart. Again, we see here just how good that gun is. You know, it's just going to pen for you every time. It's reliable, accurate, it's not in any way squishy or splashy. It's not a patchy gun at all. It just is going to deliver time and time again. Going back to my point, I think, you know, because this tank, maybe it suffers from its historical reputation, and I know the Tiger does as well in Blitz. People expect the tank to play like the tank did in the real world, and it simply doesn't, because in Blitz, tanks have parameters to play with. They can't be OP, they have to be balanced for the good of the game, etc. And unfortunately, therefore, it doesn't play as it did in real life in World War II, when it was one of the strongest competitors, and pretty much could clear anything it came up against, and wasn't really fearful, like a real Panther, like a real Tiger, of any natural predators. And I think that maybe we expect it to play like that in Blitz, and when it doesn't, we're disappointed and criticize it. But if you play to the strengths of this tank in Blitz, in the Blitz universe, it can perform very well, is great fun, and delivers. And I've found it a really, really reliable tank and great fun to play. But of course, that's just my own personal opinion. Now let's recap. Firstly, as I said, historically this is an iconic tank and it's so interesting in itself. So therefore, if you're a tank lover, it's a great thing to be able to play. I believe this is an underrated tank, and it gets a lot of unfair criticism for the reasons that we've just explored perhaps. And I believe it's a fantastic medium tank, and very typical of German medium tanks. It's fast, but it has armour. I use Enhanced Armour on it, maximise the chances of those bounces, particularly off the front. I use Supercharge and refined gun, and I would upgrade the gun ASAP and use that 75mm gun. It has 1200 meter per second muzzle velocity, which is excellent for long range sniping, so you need to use the Supercharge for that. You can see Circle of Death, the tank handles very well, particularly if you're up against a heavy tank. This tank will deliver. It's a great brawler, as you saw against its compatriot, the other Panther. It's agile, super reload, especially if you use that 75mm gun, and the gun is simply just amazing. It won't let you down, and that's why 75mm is the choice for me all day long. And that rate of fire will surprise, particularly if you drop adrenaline in a brawl. You're down to just over 3 seconds, and it's really going to hurt the enemy. So anyway, cheers Mush, thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed it, I hope you found it useful, and I guess all that's left for me to say is pants off.